watching Morning at NTV.
A very good morning. We're glad you're still with us here on Morning at NTV. We are now going into our Kickstarter segment, a look at the topical issues and what's happening across the country. We have a three-pronged debate. First, we shall be taking a reconnaissance in Oyam North, where voters are due to elect a new member of parliament 2 months after the then area MP, the Honorable Minister Charles Engola, was slain in brutal fashion. His son is one of the contestants in this particular election, and he's facing a stiff challenge from three others from the Forum for Democratic Change, Uganda People's Congress, and the National Unity Platform. We shall be availing you the details on that later. We will ask the fundamental question: the DNA of Uganda's politics, the fact that by-elections are a do-or-die affair, and for the parties that are vying for these particular seats, if they don't win, then problems. If they do, they wonder why others think it is problematic. We shall also be looking at the chaos in Bukedea, where there was also a by-election. The president writing a letter on the 26th to the head of the State House Anti-Corruption Unit to investigate claims of theft of money belonging to a candidate and the apparent efforts to ensure that that candidate does not get nominated. Is the president's letter, well, does it tell of the need to reconstruct our election infrastructure so that we can all have a level playing field? Those are questions that I, Chris Higanyi, cannot provide answers to. But with me in studio is Joseph Ochieno, a political analyst, seasoned commentator, and stalwart of the Uganda People's Congress. A very warm welcome to the program.
It's a pleasure to be here on this topic.
And I'm sure it is a pleasure too for Rogers Mulindwa from the National Governing Party, National Resistance Movement. You're looking very yellow.
Yeah, colors of hope.
Colors of hope.
But to all our viewers, good morning. They may not exactly be yellow. It looks like more of the orange, but closer to yellow.
Mild yellow. You know?
Mild yellow.
Some people want to believe they are church colors for the Catholics, and others think they are colors for the ruling party. You know, whatever it is.
Shortly, we shall also be joined by Waiswa Mufimbiro, the deputy spokesperson of the National Unity Platform, as he prepares to come on set. Allow me to begin the discussion with Joseph Ochieno and Rogers Mulindwa. The Oyam North by-election is one that has pitted the National Resistance Movement against three formidable parties: the Uganda People's Congress, National Unity Platform, as well as Forum for Democratic Change. Let's ask Rogers Mulindwa, the official from the National Resistance Movement, to tell us first and foremost what is on the ground. I do believe you are in touch with both the party but also the state infrastructure and the protocol on ground. Speak about both very quickly.
I will distance myself from the state. Let me talk for the party. We are doing well on the ground. It's a very good test for us as an RM in Oyam. For the first time, we seem to be facing credible opponents. The other parties, for the first time, they have also found candidates. I was impressed that even NUP finally found somebody to contest for them. Something that had not happened in Selele, in Bukedea, in Palisa, Gogonyo, in Soloti East, even in Kisoro. But at least they have a candidate there. And we have moved around as NRM, covering all the villages. We have been able to reach out to the remotest voter down there. We have explained why we think continuity would be key in this by-election. And our candidate, Okero Engola Samuel, is doing very well, energetic young man, so appealing to the public. He speaks well. He's well conversant with the constituency. He knows what the father was doing. is able to take it off from there. So we know by the end of the day, it's not going to be Oyam, cannot be exceptional. It's our 7th test of by-elections, having one in Omagor, we have one in Gogonyo, we have one Solot East, we have been in Kasese, we have one in Kisoro, we have one in Bukedea. The total number 7 against nil for all the others combined. I'm very optimistic we are going to win on Oyam. What we want to see today, we want to see a free and fair exercise. As a party, we want to see everybody given the fairest opportunity. If you are to vote, please go and vote. If you are not meant to vote, don't vote. And as a party, we made sure we maintained a very small number of people from the Secretariat, 2, the Director Mobilization, Honorable Seninde, and the Director Mobilization, Honorable Dombo. The rest of the work has to be done by the Oyam people. These people are there to coordinate and link up with the National Secretariat and Office of the National Chairperson. And the President was there in his capacity as a chairperson of the party to drum up support for our candidate. His message was so good. You see, this by-election, the winner will have 2 years. Let's allow NRM to continue. If our candidate doesn't perform well, we shall look for another one. The communities will decide. Or they can even, the voters can choose to give it away in 2026. But for this, we need a continuity. And we feel we have the win today.
Thank you very much, Rogers Mulindwa. Just for purposes of clarity, for those that are watching, the son of the late minister, Charles Engola, who is Engola Okello Samuel, is contesting on the NRM ticket. He's facing Okello Daniel of the National Unity Platform. There's also Okello Freddie Newton of the Forum for Democratic Change, as well as Apio Eunice of the Uganda People's Congress. I would like to come to Joseph Ochieno, and in light of Apio Eunice candidacy and the flag bearer for the Uganda People's Congress, it comes at a time when candidates from the UPC had kind of disappeared from races, and this one is a good injection of new energy, both for the party but also for the political space. What do you speak of the situation on the ground and your chances as a party?
That is absolutely not true, because it's interesting for my brother Mulindwa here to talk about
what is not true, what I said, what he...
Both actually in a way, but I'll context that. The idea that we have not been having candidates good enough to go to the deputy spokesperson of NUP here. I was at Bukedea. This is a shambolic shame. A fantastic young man of Uganda People's Congress, merely for LC5 elections, to be bundled for 2 days, granted it was merely an official, to deny another young man an opportunity to contest freely for LC5 elections. In fact, if there was a free and fair vote there, UPC would almost certainly have taken...
You didn't have a candidate in Bukedea.
Because NRA police detained, you know, the official who was holding the nomination papers on the last nomination day. And it was extremely unfortunate.
That was NRM candidate.
NRA police.
NRM leaning.
You know, no. That means you actually don't have the information. No, you actually
I was
no, the NRA leaning, allegedly, if whatever leaning means, the guy who was beaten, humiliated, which is actually shocking. And that guy actually wakes up the following day and he still holds an NRA card in Bukedea, not far away from Mukura. I can't understand it. Point is, that guy beaten was NRA, and it's actually extremely shocking. But yes, the UPC candidate was not nominated because the agent who was holding his baggage spent 2 days in the police. They picked up papers from them. And these are 2 fantastic young guys. In Soroti, you know, in Soroti by-elections, the UPC candidate who was there was the best of all these other people. But it's not about UPC versus anybody else. It is simply that Ugandans across the political divide are decent, sensible people. NRA basically literally over-controls the situation. So the idea that we've not been having candidates for other political parties is not necessarily true. Whatever happened in Narua.
Let's look at the reality now.
Back to Oyam. Oh, fantastic.
There is a candidate.
No, and not only is there a candidate, Eunice Apio, I actually hope Eunice Apio wins this by-election. She actually came close to beating Engola the late. close to beating Angola. It was a contest against UPC, beautiful, deep lady, versus Angola with all the mightiness of the military and everything else in Oyam. And that is how that Angola won. So I really hope people look back and do that.
Yeah.
That said, though, it is also true that we have FDC, we have NUP. I was just thinking as I was coming through the studios that maybe being a by-election, actually, it would have been an interesting thing if the political opposition were structurally working much more together in a strategic way for us to have made sure that possibly we don't have many candidates to spread the votes. But I must say in quick conclusion at the introduction that as of last night, as I understand it, motorcycles by UPC to try and help coordinate many of these things were again impounded by NRA police, and yet at the same time I'm told there's some people allegedly hanging on a particular petrol station at 2 o'clock in the morning preparing to do the bidding for NRA. It was just left. Merely by-election for this to happen is actually shocking. And then final thing on the question of the North and candidates of NRA. No, in 1980, you know, NRA fielded candidates in a handful of places. UPC fielded candidates across all the constituencies. So presenting the idea that NRA has got some magic thing because they present candidates and oppositions don't, no, that's not true. But anyway, from a UPC perspective, I know the story. I leave it to my good brother, NUP.
All right, there you are. Waiswa Mufimbiro, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
The National Unity Platform has a candidate in Oyam. There has been, in the recent past, talk that the National Unity Platform has lost steam. And the fact that this time around you're able to emphatically present a candidate means perhaps you have an opportunity to counter those claims. But before we get into whether NUP is still the party that has the sting or not, what is the latest on the ground in Oyam in as far as your candidate is concerned?
First of all, I thank the opportunity this morning to interface with these elites on matters of national importance, and I hope we reflect this morning to be one that is reflective to the realities of what we're going to discuss. I have heard Rogers here say that at last we have a candidate. One, the National Unity Platform is also cognizant of the type of by-elections that are being organized now. You know what happened in Kayunga. In Kayunga, General Museveni told us that even when the people decide, he decides last, or the NRA decides last. What happened in that election, for all those who have morals and decorum in their mind, they know what happened in Kayunga. So as a party, we took a position to critically look at what we are handling, because we were just coming from an election, a general election, which was characterized, it is the worst organized military operation in Uganda. It had 54 people murdered by the state. It had others murdered extrajudicially. And I want to give you names if you want some. Zebra was murdered because of electioneering. Zebra is a former boxer. And General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni broadly came out and accepted that extrajudicial killing without putting those to justice. When you steal an election, you steal the soul of a country, because democracy is deepened by accountability of service to the people, and they can only check you through processes of elections. That is why elections, cardinal and principally, are supposed to yield the highest pedigree of fairness, because they determine the livelihood of people. Now, when we looked at that, we had to do an assessment. There are places where by-elections have been. NUP is magnanimous, it is a mass party, yes, but we are not bullies. That is one thing that we are. We are not bullies. We are cognizant of whatever is on the political terrain. In Serere, you could not doubt Alice Alaso, her capacity in leadership and others. In certain places, we have agreed to move with the opposition candidates. I was personally in Soroti, and you know what happened in Soroti? It is mind-boggling when a spokesperson of a party is here, even just thumping the win of Bukedea, which is in question today by their own political leader, by their own general, because this time round he wants to unmask. He thinks that unmasking one of his will leave him the terrain of being with sanctity, and yet he has opened also what we have been talking about. He himself, in Kayunga, he made those statements. He has made them on different platforms. Now, in Oyam, we have a very interesting candidate. He's called Daniel Okello. Daniel Okello is a councillor of LC5. Now, he's a sitting councillor on the National Unity Platform ticket. Now, this is also one that our colleagues this time will run away from. They have told the world that NUP is about Buganda, that the leaders of NUP are in Buganda. He is a councillor, a sitting, serving councillor. Yeah. Therefore, some of course, when they eat their words, when they chew and eat their words, they forget as they're going to vomit whatever they want to say, because they have been sailing a story that we are not anywhere. Now, I'm glad that with the National Resistance Army person here, he has ably told you that at least this time he is seeing a capable and deserving person in Daniel Okello to be member of parliament. Of course,
that's interesting.
I don't think those were my words.
I am speaking, and he will be given opportunity to speak.
Okay, very quickly. Yeah.
So,
in a minute,
yes, please.
What is on the ground right now, as far as NUP is concerned? Voting, it's now 7. It's just 5 minutes to 8 o'clock. Voting is presumably underway in Oyam. Have you?
As of last night, the state machinery, just like it has been in other by-elections, has done the same. The state is in charge of the affairs. They are being assisted by the chief thief. That is the chairperson of the Electoral Commission.
To check your language.
It is English language.
But that's NUP anyway.
No, it is English language. He's a teacher.
I need to check the tone and the choice of words.
We have read a letter from General Museveni discussing stealing of elections. Elections, by the Constitution of Uganda, are an architect of the Electoral Commission. And so, and the words we speak, we have liability to them. I do not have a disclaimer that the chief of stealing elections is Injustice Byabakama, because he has done so on public record, including the presidential election. You know very well that he announced results on camera without even knowing where they were coming from, and to his own dissatisfaction, he led it to us. So if you want to give names, probably my English is still, I have very limited English.
No, it is not. It is not a debate. It is not a debate on
so
the
for me, we call him
of language.
Chief. Yeah,
yeah. It's not a debate on the breadth of language, but for basic decorum in debate. That is exactly where
a thief is a thief, and that's where our country has found a problem.
I'd like to come to Rogers Mulindwa. You are itching to respond to what Waiswa Mufimbiro says, especially in regard to the statements from President Museveni that give a damning assessment of both the party, NRM, and the state's conduct of elections in light of the chaos that happened in Bukedea District.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to clarify there is nothing called NRM police or NRA police, as I heard him saying. Police is for all of us, it's Uganda police. Bukedea, maybe before I even go to that, I know we have over 90,000 voters in Oyam today, 167 polling stations, about 47, which is 52% of the voters are women, and around 42, which is about 40-something percentage are male voters. This is one of our strengths. Wherever you see more female voters, then you know NRM is swinging into the winning direction. But of course, even in Oyam, surprisingly, even the younger people are for us. And I like these conversations of the history. UPC one time had a candidate in every part of yes. They are good, they had, they didn't consolidate. We didn't have, we moved in there and we are consolidating elsewhere. Now, in Bukedea...
Interesting.
Yes, in Bukedea,
Quickly.
the principal, the president, the chief accounting officer of this country, the fountain of honor, received the reports that there could have been some irregularities. And as a fountain of honor, in his mandate, directed Brigadier General Isoke to do the investigations. This is a president I would love to stay in this country for life. A president that cares, a president that gives attention to all issues. Because Bukedea is, one would say, is about over 90% NRM. And that's why even the FDC candidate who was there was abandoned. Not even a single UPC person walked in to give him support. I could look at the young man and sympathized with him. Then the other independent, the son to the late, the first chairperson of Bukedea was NRM leaning but independent. And I could also see him struggling. He got 4,000, the FDC got 2,000, and we had 79,000. So if the president elected some investigations, that's welcome. Let's, as a party, as NRM, if I sit with the Waiswa here, I would like us to be in harmony, a harmonious discussion. That's why my language will always be controlled. I'll never go confrontation. I know so many issues about...
No, he's not confrontational.
I don't want to call people thieves because it may be a little bit difficult. I know how some NUP people became flag bearers. You had to pay off money to individuals.
Let's not go into that accusation.
No, it is nice. It is nice when
you
it comes
will
from
respond.
NRA.
These are issues I don't want to go in for. So for Bukedea, we congratulate Mary Akol, our flag bearer. She was sworn in. She has set a cabinet already. Work in Bukedea have started. The investigations will also continue.
Okay, now, gentlemen, before we fall into the trap of making this debate the latest in a series of futile attempts by elite in the country to find solutions to the political problems in the country, I would like to go into the strategic direction that the parties are undertaking in light of the latest by-election. NUP, I'll be very interested later to know what does this represent going forward in terms of numbers if you win this particular by-election, but most importantly, how does it embolden the agenda that you are pushing both in Parliament and on the outside front? The same applies for the Uganda People's Congress. So I will allow minutes for you to get to the bottom of that so that when we return from the break, we can be able to tackle this issue head on. You're watching Morning at 10 TV. Time now for a short break. Do stay with us. I'll be right back.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
Good morning and welcome back from that break for those that went with us into it. If you are just joining us, welcome on board. You find us at the Kickstarter segment of Morning at NTV. This the 6th day of July 2023. We are looking at the by-election in Oyam North, where the political parties, if one of the words of my guests is anything to go by during the break, has presented the most credible challenge yet. 4 candidates: NRM, FDC, NUP, and Uganda People's Congress. Before we went into the break, I asked the fundamental question: should we delve again into the futile debate of seeking solutions from vantage points of view of each political party to Uganda's problems, or should we look forward on the strategic agenda as a country? I'll be putting this question to my guests. Waiswa Alex Mufimbiro, spokesperson of the National Unity Platform; Rogers Mulindwa, deputy spokesperson of the National Resistance Movement. Apologies for the slip of the tongue. And of course, Joseph Ochieno, the UPC stalwart. Let me begin with you, Joseph Ochieno. Oyam North presents an opportunity for the Uganda People's Congress to prepare ground for 2026. I do not know whether you look at it the way I do, or it is simply another raid in the field? Quickly.
No, you're right. Very quickly, I'll put the cap off for the observer very quickly globally. By-elections generally are actually supposed to be real tests for governing political organizations. But by-elections can also be testing grounds for various political parties and players. And that's why usually by-elections should be, and this to Mr. Museveni, should really be an opportunity to be people to be allowed to go and taste and play. And so therefore it should really be as free and fair as it ever happens, because it has to, all elections should be fair and fair, but just to emphasize it.
Yeah.
And ironical, as Mr. Museveni says, it's 2 years. That's why I'm trying to say that, well, sometimes I wonder why they make it a matter of life and death. And you can imagine the amount of fuel that he took yesterday to and fro, you know, and you know, but that's fair enough. You know, he's got the disclaimer is that a leader of
he's
political organization. So no, a leader of political organization, he's got a right to go ahead and campaign for his candidate. But yes, usually it would be the case that political parties are testing their popularity nationally. They're also testing their organizational capacity and structures. By-elections, just like many other elections in seats and parliamentary seats, in this case, where political parties are not necessarily very strong, are opportunities for candidates to be tested, to test themselves, for political parties sometimes actually even to test their messages. So that should really be the case. Now, in Oyam, by the way, for the record, Oyam South, when Dr. Epak died, then of FDC, UPC former, you know, we had a fantastic victory by a young UPC guy called now One Isha Oto, who's sort of like faded off for various reasons. So Oyam North, I hope, is another opportunity for UPC to represent itself. Oyam is predominantly a UPC base, in fact, Oyam across up to and including Omagor, meaning that in the future, when things settle in this country and begin real politics of issues nationally and locally, that we should be seeking back to reclaim those spaces. Of course, unfortunately, we go there with a slight disadvantage, which I must say, and that is that UPC is really not as united as should be. As you know, we have contested leadership. In fact, the only thing about Eunice is the fact that she's UPC at the moment, but maybe if you're asking me, and you've been very generous to ask me whether or not I would have had the mandate to give her the party card. Okay. So that, unfortunately, is the relative disadvantage. But I'm saying that notwithstanding anything and everything else, you know, Eunice deserves to win that, particularly because whatever everything else, she clearly represents the values of Uganda People's Congress. And as has already been suggested, she's deep, she's articulate, and everything else, by and large, she represents here, will be in the genuine interest of our young people, and will be the nearest anyway to the UPC values when it comes to how we deliver issues at a national platform.
Rogers Mulindwa, allow me to depart fundamentally from the journalistic principle of fair advantage. You've already spoken about continuity for the national resistance movement. Let me first leave it there and go to Waiswa Mufimbiro, National Unity Platform. You've said there are those who have been saying NUP is predominantly Buganda or central based, and now that you're able to field a credible candidate proves to your detractors that you're actually a mass and national party. How do you intend to galvanize and build on that ahead of 2021? You can also share with us what exactly NUP's agenda is ahead of these elections.
First of all, our agenda is to win, because as you realize, this country needs to be liberated from the south, from the north, from the east, and from the central. So if an opportunity of liberation comes to the north, it is our dear responsibility to take charge in. And we really want to liberate that place. I'm happy that Rogers here has enumerated the capabilities of the young man, Daniel Ochieno. So we believe that his maestro of politics in that region will give us a new face of how we can handle the politics in particularly that region. In that region, we have not been allowed free space to participate in sinking our structures and our politics of the party. As you realize, we are bogged down by the state machinery on our free movement and free speech around the country to do the strategic mobilizing and others. But also we participate in this election, first of all, to refuse the thinking that elections are for NRA. elections are for Uganda. They are for our country. It is something that we have invested in as a nation. They are not for any individual. So nobody should sit and chest thump that they are going to chase us out of processes as they do it. Because the mudslinging, the blackmail, the torture, the murder, the arrests, all speak to tiring the oppressed from participating in the liberation processes that are constitutional. And that is very, very, very sad. Because as a result of this, if you read the letter of General Museveni, first of all, I wanted to tell Rogers that these are not small allegations. Nobody should participate in an election where a human being has been dehumanized, like how that gentleman was dehumanized. I give no damn whether he's NRM leaning or NRA leaning. He may not be intelligent enough to realize, but whether he is there or not, it is not supposed to be at any sphere of politics that a human being is handled the way that gentleman. I want to go to Bukedea as a yardstick for all these elections.
Very quickly.
Our strategic progress. Let me tell you, in Bukedea, there is a lady who was called Jessica Apio. And about 3 other candidates who are going to stand for the woman MP. That was one. That saw us having Anita Among, the now mafia speaker, come to helm. I want to tell you, you listen to the story. What she did, she first of all bought off the other people. She told one of the ladies that they would have a settlement of 25 million. She had never touched 25 million. They gave her a bunch of 1,000 million shillings in 5 million. She discovered later that there was nothing. Anita Among. Jessica Apio, first of all, was nominated by the Electoral Commission. Anita Among connived with the injustice Yabakama. They came to the Electoral Commission. They sat a board of the Electoral Commission. They called the proposer and seconder of Jessica Apio. They convinced them, they bribed them, and then they changed their word against Jessica Apio, a candidate who had already been nominated. They denominated Jessica Apio. They denominated Jessica Apio. After denominating Jessica Apio, she went to High Court.
Aren't we getting too much?
No.
Just a moment.
These are elections. General Museveni has written a letter.
Waiswa Mufimbiro,
I am
just a
on
minute.
TV.
Just a minute.
Yes,
You are
please.
on national TV.
And I'm on national TV.
Yes, and I am the
Yes,
moderator.
please.
Allow me say this, that the allegations as NTV and as Chris Higenyi cannot independently verify, and you do not provide any credible evidence. I'm not going to tell you to provide evidence on table because the issue at hand is not those allegations.
It is your duty.
The debate, the debate right now is, Oyam, we are looking at how do we move forward. And I've asked you the fundamental question to lay out the national unity platform's way forward.
Thank you very much.
How do you intend to capitalize on this?
No,
You have diverted
excuse me.
an issue that perhaps hasn't been addressed well enough according to you. And I'm not going to...
Can I reply?
Use 60 broadcasting seconds.
That's a minute. Let me tell you something. How I answer the question is all up to me.
You're on Morning at 10 TV.
Yes, please.
We have decorum, and I'm not going to allow your rules to govern the standards that we use.
60 seconds.
Okay.
So the decorum you're talking about refuses you from investigating a story that has been given to you, which is factual. Since you are a journalist, and I am speaking because you invited me to speak
on
I'm supposed on by-elections.
That is right.
Okay, so you cannot impede me. And if you look at your flyer, it spoke about Bukedea and the letter.
That is
so
right.
I am expanding the debate not to be pedestral to something small, help the country.
But
they understand.
All right.
Alex, you are interrupting.
No. Waiswa Mufimbiro, I have the right to interrupt and interject. I also have the right to say off the show. Rogers Mulindwa, I have that right.
You invited me, so you can do it if you feel so.
Rogers Mulindwa, the aspect of continuity of the national resistance movement in Oyam is something that you have spoken about. listening to the sentiment of the likes of National Unity Platform, it seems it's continuity of malpractice, continuity of manipulation of the system in order for the national resistance movement to gain the advantages that it has, given the fact that it's the party governing.
The allegations are really very unfounded. We have lost by-elections.
I hold liability.
Yes,
we lost by-elections in Arua.
yeah.
We lost by-elections in Rukungiri, the woman MP, remember, in the past.
Yes.
The only beauty is that wherever we lost, we came back big and won the seats again.
Kayunga?
Now, you see, we have had, I've been on this TV, we have talked about Kayunga. Let me concentrate on the current issues. You see, the by-elections will remain tension-packed, basically for 5 reasons.
That's right.
That whenever we have a by-election, there is a political concentration. All parties will be there. If this was a national elections, believe me, NUP wouldn't have found a candidate. The highest candidate they had in Lango was a district councillor, who is now vying for that. Maybe he would have gone back to be a district councillor. So that political concentration by political parties tend to create a hype in the tension. But there is also a battle for supremacy, political supremacy. Who is who? If there is FDC, there is NUP, there is UPC, there is NRM. Who takes the day? You know how much the celebrations will be when we win this election. We are at that level to compare ourselves with the other parties in Lango, you know, Oyam in particular. So that political supremacy is also key. But there is also a fight for employment, for survival. I've been a district councillor. My allowances per month is about 270,000. Why don't I go for the 200 in the parliament to buy a car? Maybe my dream car is a Harrier. So there's also that fight for that. But there's also the fight for the government cash for political parties. You remember what happened in Honorable in Bugiri when we had the municipal elections, and then Bugiri, Jema produced Honorable Basari. It was their first MP in the House, and that one created some income for Jema because we have that money we share from government on numerical strength. So the more MPs you have, the more money you get. So there could be parties that are saying if NUP has 57, we can add 1 to make 58. NRM with 300 something, we can add 1. We don't lose our seat, but also FDC and UPC. So that one is also there. So these factors and many others make the by-elections very competitive. And for us as NRM,
it's interesting when you speak about what creates the kind of impetus for by-elections. You seem to dwell entirely on return in terms of cash, allowances, and I haven't seen the fundamental aspect of service delivery in your submission. Are you deliberately sidestepping it? Or it is not even there to talk about?
Because I was saying these and many others. There are quite a number of factors.
Why do you choose to dwell on the cash?
There are many other factors. Of course, service delivery would be one-sided for NRM. What will NUP promise people of Oyam? What are they going to do? Under which government? There is a government in power, NRM, headed by the General Kaguta Museveni. So if you are going to offer services, where will you go? The table is chaired by President Museveni. That's where the
Rogers Mulindwa and Waiswa Mufimbiro, let's ask Joseph Ochieno to depart from UPC and be the political commentator right now. You've just had sentiments from these two that border on political intellectual extremism. Help us calm these waters.
I will respect that because you're a fantastic presenter. This is a fantastic morning program. I will actually say this, but I'll also use in this case Rogers' observations about by-elections. In fact, as I said earlier about by-elections generally, it's really, I think in Uganda's case, it's really not about what parties benefit. Political parties generally exist, you know, based on their values and foundations and convictions and beliefs about their worldview of society. They exist, you know, to deliver whatever they believe onto the people. And usually it is not about one party to determine which of the others up to the people. So really, by-elections, just like any elections, sensible political parties and the UPC, in the event that I become leader, and I hope I become leader of the party soon, in the event that I become leader of the party,
all right,
I will seek that the UPC participates in every election across the country. And they participate in the elections in order to gain candidates, in order to seek to win elections. If it's a local government, in order, as you rightly say, to translate your values onto local service deliveries. In this case, you compete to send a member to the Legislative Assembly, and it's not necessarily true that you only participate in the parliamentary elections because you know you all have the presidency, you have a majority. No, that would actually be rather unfair to legislators. Legislators' jobs are actually supposed to be legislation beyond really political party leanings, and I think that's one of the areas where actually NRM gets it fundamentally wrong. Legislators are independent representatives of the people. When Eunice wins elections in Oyam, I hope she comes to the National Assembly, tackles the question of corruption, tackles the question of systems of procedures, tackles the questions of our involvement in foreign unnecessary wars, tackles the question in terms of budget allocation, in terms of priorities, tackles the questions in terms of how UPC would govern, especially how we governed before, tackles the question of the mess in Kampala. A legislator from Oyam, member of parliament, 1 of 10 in UPC, plus a few others who are leaning and relating to UPC, and that's what they would do. That's the value they add. Just look at how the other day my good friend Ibrahim Samuju is now being praised. I mentioned his name here, that is possibly the best legislator in recent times, partly because of his approach. Some of the things that actually Ibrahim is doing is not necessarily turning around numbers in Parliament, but his messages, whether on Twitter or how he presents himself, is actually not only motivating people, but waking up committees. By the way, Rogers, when Mr. Museveni was talking about that letter of his in Bukedea, I don't know where we're going to discuss it. I was the other day claiming credit in one of the media houses that when I came from Bukedea, I talked boldly and loudly of how shameful it was that these guys are doing. So maybe Mr. Museveni is responding to me. I'm not even necessarily a member of parliament. So no, politics and democracy is about articulation made of these other things. So generally, it should really be about that, and that's why I cannot wait for spaces for political parties to be given opportunities to focus on issues, to focus on engagement with the people, so that they know that at the end of the day, whatever we say, whatever we do, the citizens are watching, and when time and opportunity comes, citizens will respond with their mandates freely, and that is going to be reflected on the nation. And when, and in the event that we are elected, whoever they are elected, their job over the next or so 5 years to go ahead to deliver. This country, after 60 years, I think really, really urgently requires that beautiful politics that we try to represent at the early part of our independence, requires that politics that will be a better politics and better democracy for the youth of this country in the future.
Joseph Ochieno, the political commentator, thanks.
Waiswa. Not UPC,
not the UPC presidential aspirant or an official. We can do that.
We can do that.
Thank you very much. I believe right now the emotions are calm. Let's now return and continue with our debate effectively. When I look at what's happening across the country, every contestation is something that is do or die. And the fact that by-elections happen to be like this, year in, year out, to the average Ugandan, it is tiring. And there is need for politicians to begin a rethink. This rethink, sometimes we are told, as those who are watching from this other side, it's not possible. Let me ask Alex Waiswa from Mufimbiro. Defeating the national resistance movement is a difficult task right now. One that leads most opposition politicians into tirades, lamentation, and resignation. If there was a chance to beat the national resistance movement at all levels, by-election, national, parliamentary, and presidential, it would be consolidation of togetherness. That has been discussed time and again. I do not know whether it is the tone or what you think are the interests of the other party that could not harmonize with yours that lead to the fact that there is still fragmentation. Do you...
Fragmentation
in terms of everyone wanting to go at it alone instead of seeking a collective assault. Tell us about how 2026 looks like. Is the possibility of the opposition coming together one that is, well, about to be achieved, or we are looking at NUP driving NUP agenda and nothing but NUP?
What is the NUP agenda? The NUP agenda is the bad schools. The NUP agenda is the bad hospitals. The NUP agenda is the corruption. The NUP agenda is the bad, is the appalling health state we are in as a nation. That is our agenda. Our agenda is the oppressed Ugandans. And therefore, we have on all occasions said, in your own submissions, you noted that in certain areas we have left our colleagues to take the day. Because it is not about us. It is about the things that make our country a country of decorum to humanity, which is not there. The emotions many of you speak about them because probably you are from the battered side of seeing things. I am on the front line. On that front line, I do have colleagues who have been murdered by the NRA. I have friends who have been court-martialed. This is not politics. No. A civilian is not supposed to be in the court-martial. I have civilians, not one, not two, in hundreds, who are before the court-martial on reasons of supporting His Excellency Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Ngobi. It is in public eye. So, if... Yeah, that is a name that was given to him in Busoga.
Okay.
And it is...
Yeah, very quickly, I have to go for a break.
When we are discussing whatever we are discussing, we should discuss it on the cornerstone of being reality.
That is right.
Lives are being lost. Government is spending lots of taxpayers' money in these shambolic militaristic operations. And I can tell you, akaliba akendo, okalabira kuchi, kumukonda, that's the Baganda saying. These people and whatever happens in the by-election is a continuity actually of the general election. The only difference is that at the general election, the state machinery is looking at working for General Yoweri Museveni. So after stealing for General Yoweri Museveni, you saw ballot papers. Our candidate did elections in a bulletproof vest.
I'm going to have to go for a break.
Please.
The rules say that, but the reality may be different. One thing we will not do is to allow many times all the sentiments of any one politician or entity to be addressed. We only have a few minutes on Morning at NTV, and if we were to give national discourse the amount of time it deserves, perhaps we won't have time for NTV at 1, we won't have time for Akaungezi, and neither shall we watch NTV tonight. This is Morning at NTV. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're glad you're still with us here on Morning at NTV. The segment is Kickstarter, and we are discussing Oyam North by-election. The latest is that voting is currently underway, having begun at 7 a.m. A total of 167 polling stations with residents casting their ballot. They'll be electing a new candidate, but on the front there, as we know, according to reports, is that the NRM candidate is facing stiff challenge from 3 Uganda People's Congress candidates. We have also National Unity Platform as well as FDC that have all been able to, this time around, come forth. That alone, according to some political pundits, is good news because it presents a competition as it ought to be, where most or the most formidable political parties are able to come forth in an election. Here on Morning at NTV, my guests are Deputy Spokesperson, not Deputy but Spokesperson for the National Resistance Movement, Rogers Mulindwa, Deputy Spokesperson for the National Unity Platform, Waiswa Mufimbiro, as well as political commentator and UPC stalwart, Joseph Ochieno. The DNA of Uganda's politics is peculiar. There is violence, there is malpractice, there is electioneering, there is money. And this we continue to see on every by-election that is held. This time around, reports are subdued of any exchange of cash. However, what we do know are reports of arbitrary arrests and interruptions in the operations of some political parties there. I do not know whether my guests have the latest information on what's happening there in terms of how their agents are being treated, but some have voiced concerns about the fact that, well, borders belonging to one party were apparently impounded. Let me return to the set. I would like to begin with Waiswa Mufimbiro. Again.
I did actually, somebody has been telling me I have used the more less minutes than all of you.
Looking at it.
I'm
Rogers
Mulindwa. I use what is given to me.
Surprised.
Rogers Mulindwa.
You are scared.
I was. You don't be scared, because under the modalities of broadcasting, the only thing he's doing is that he's using his minutes to be extremely aggressive, and I would love you to calm it down. Okay, I understand. We have an opportunity at conferences, we have an opportunity at engagements at different levels to air out all these concerns that may be at the heart or pain points within the party. You cannot do that all on Morning at NTV, okay?
I will do what I can.
You do what you can.
But I will do it.
I'm concerned about what you're going to roll out if the candidate of the National Unity Platform wins the by-election in Oyam to finish these 2 years ahead of 2026. What is the manifesto that he is talking about?
We have a very great manifesto, first of all. We have the challenges of the people of Oyam. They don't have clean water. They don't have electricity. They are hugely impoverished, as you have seen the pictures. They still have data cake homestead living. They have told you that they have a population of about 180,000 persons. They have no hospital, okay? And you know they have been represented with the highest echelon of NRA. If you talk about the Ngola family in Lango, it is one of the greatest. And it is NRA all through. But the people of Oyam have not benefited from having strong men of NRA being their representative. And that is why, if their voice is respected, because as you have just noted yourself, probably now that you have facts to even say it, that what is there is the arbitrary arrests. Where that is happening means that that election has already been stolen. Who is in charge of arbitrary arrests? It is the NRA. It is the NRA police. They are the state machinery of the police that is deployed to stop. Let me tell you a story about Kayunga.
Very quickly.
In Kayunga, a police officer was arrested from a polling station for ballot stuffing. He had disguised himself as a polling agent. Police. Now, if already they are stealing the election, for us, we have scored because the country knows our magnanimity. Secondly, we will continue to participate in the processes that highlight the corruption, the blackmail, the thuggery of the NRA, especially during elections. We don't mind the cost because it includes even people dying. I told you that this is a continuity of what has been an overflow of whatever they have been doing since 1986. That is why we put it, and as a chess, we put the chessboard round and know where is the pawn, where is the king, because at the end of the day, if it was a free and fair process in Oyam, you would not have an NRA candidate coming back. For the first time, they're even telling you how stiff the competition is. But because they're already rigging, the election will not have competition. For us as National Unity Platform,
that allegation,
you will verify it. The beauty about journalism is that it has that opportunity to investigate. And I know I am not one of those madmen who will speak things that will go to the contrary. You will find whatever I speak on your station actually factual, because we are anchored on reality as National Unity Platform.
Thank you very much.
Our mobilization in the north, our structuring in the north, especially Lango sub-region, has taken quite some good momentum. We have taken this opportunity, all of us as party officials, to have interactions and inroads to where we have been stopped by the state. When we went there for consultations in Lira, we were beaten, including the president, we were arrested, our vehicles were impounded, but at least we find ways in these processes to find breathers of how to maneuver and help liberate the oppressed people. You see, wherever there are oppressed people, it is a struggle.
It's a struggle.
And that is why
Rogers
that
Mulindwa,
message will always find them wherever
Rogers
they are.
Mulindwa, allow me now place the card of fairness on you.
Yeah, I was about to ask if you were still in control. Because, I could see
allow me place it on
somebody
you.
assuming your powers.
No.
The only disclaimer he said as he comes.
Excuse me.
A disclaimer to him.
No.
About our party, he said on
the
cards.
level of defiance is higher this side.
Rogers Mulindwa, I won't ask you to go on about the advantages that the National Resistance Movement already has, especially when it comes to conduct of elections in the country. But allow me dwell on the letter that was written by President Yoweri Museveni. It is an acknowledgement of the malpractice. It is an acknowledgement of the harassment that goes on at the hands of state operators, NRM honchos. The raiding of a candidate's home and theft of property, including money. I do not know how far the legal battle is in as far as bringing those elements to book, but within the National Resistance Movement, where is your heart when things like this go on now that we even have the president acknowledging them?
Yeah, as a party, we condemn all acts of hooliganism at any level. That's our position. We fought for fairness. We want to see democratic process of election. Of course, the excuses can continue. We are unable to fill the candidate here because we anticipated this, yes. I saw in Gogonyo in Palisa, the NUP candidate, a week to the polling date, opted out.
Was bought by NRA.
And they came to Kamwacha, to the offices, to officially communicate. The offices were locked. He was locked out. He couldn't be given the letter to get out of the race.
Because you bought him.
The other one, who was Taligola, who was an independent, I think also were surprised at our last rally. When the president was talking, he walked in as a special guest. Just 2 days to the elections. So there are those excuses that can be on the other side. I know what happened in Mufimbiro, but the acts of hooliganism, we don't believe in that. That's not our DNA. We don't believe in that as NRM. We want to see free and fair elections. However, we have also taken note that our colleagues, especially those in NUP, when they want to create kind of a vibrant environment for them, they tend to create situations that will perhaps cause the security agencies to act. Because their DNA is defiance. This song has been here for FDC.
Bukedea, it's NRM leaning.
It has been here for NUP. Even their leader, as I've heard, Gobi, now
Mr. Bastardize Busoga.
Mr. Gobi,
if you don't know, don't say it.
Now, you see, when we brought in the other name of
you didn't bring in, you are forced to say your name.
Now people have copped. You can now see the Ngobis are also coming up.
You are not
the branding.
You are not alive to what
themselves.
is in Uganda. Ngobi was given to him in 2017.
But
interesting perspective.
We need, yeah, of course,
he's not alive to facts.
If UPC doesn't change the leader, don't be surprised when I can add on another one.
Maybe adding on a name of
and the other one also adds on, because this is now a trend. We send it. We set the pace, and the others follow.
For clarity.
So the letter, as I earlier said, by the president, because I was in Bukedea partly for nomination.
That's right.
I was there to present my party when we were presenting our candidate for nominations. And that was the first day. We were number 2 after FDC. We got nominated, and then we had our brief meeting with the candidate, and then I walked back. Then I also went back 2 days to, I think, 1 day to the elections to help coordinate the media. because some people would ask, we need information, we need this, where do we get it? You could help them understand. Our candidate will vote at this time, voting from this place. That was my role there. Now, I cannot be sure that whatever is alleged happened. There are things I also watched in the social media. But the beauty with this is that the president, as the fountain of honor, has taken a bold move to say, let us do the investigations. That's a leader, as I said, a leader I would love to have for life. A leader that respects people.
Also have his son
because
after him.
I don't know who invaded the home of...
Police officers have been arrested.
Who is this
7
guy?
of them.
Security operatives.
He's the chief accountant.
5 of which have been arrested and charged.
Yes, please. Police officers.
So I don't know, whoever, because those are, you see, those could still be allegations until they are convicted.
Wow.
You can't be sure. You can arrest somebody. You have seen this government has arrested Besigye many times.
You charge
he has won
Alex,
most of the cases. You see, I would really, I don't know. But
just continue. Don't
yes. No. I just wanted to remind him that he's on NTV, another national television. So the character changes a bit. But
I've seen you on Luganda shows, so in English to make
gentlemen, do not bastardize this debate.
You see, this is the problem.
Okay.
Just imagine such people get into power. What I'm saying. For Bukedea, we shall give a chance to Brigadier General Isoke to do the investigations, report back to the president, and then let the culprits be punished. And to our members of NRM, you see, we have a challenge. We are a mass party. I wish we had numbers like our colleagues have, manageable numbers. But once you have a bigger family, it also comes with a number of issues.
Wait.
We are
happy with the incompetence.
If you have a family of 20 children, they can't all be bishops.
So
there will be others to do this. So there could be individuals within NRM that are behaving contrary to our expectations.
Allow me to come to Joseph Ochieno, but I won't allow you add a fuel to these flames.
In UPC we don't. we do issues and we do this nation. We love it
let's
too
just
much,
take the opportunity to focus on UPC. Over the last 10 years, the Uganda People's Congress has lost identity in the public eye.
It nearly had.
Yeah. And ahead of 2026, we do not, as watchers, including the media, see a strategic intent to go for political power or even to sustain what is available right now. You yourself have sought to be the head of this political party. Its current contested president doesn't put feet where we see him. In other words, we cannot tell whether he's this side or the other side. Just take us through what is happening within the party very briefly as we enter the final bend of this discussion.
Thank you. Very, very quickly, I just need to add on to this Tibuhaburwa name. Just for the record, that actually it happens.
Don't ignite.
No, in a very good way.
Don't ignite
it's information for you. No,
okay.
It is actually Dr. James Ranyarare, who in the 90s would, at a press conference and many times, told Ugandans this actually apparently comrade Mr. Museveni's name. And people and rejecting people even fearing to talk about it. So, and in the way you're right. So it's very interesting that this name formally came. But for the record, I'm not sure whether Rogers knows, but just to put that there. And
all right.
We acknowledge with the beauty that we formally contributed to that name. And Dr. Milton Obote, rest in peace, and everybody else, including current leaders, it's unlikely that people are going to have major name changes because our focus is really the Republic of Uganda.
Yeah, it has already started.
Now, that said, you're absolutely right that we've been in a little bit of a mess. Because we have Jim Akena, who's my brother, for whom Court of Appeal ruled that is not elected leader of the party. We had Mr. Walubiri, who is contested leader, and we don't know where he is at the moment, whether he's in his chambers, but with the party. And of course, yes, I won the elections that following the Court of Appeal ruling and directing that elections be held. And that is now a matter which is in court. So that actually puts us in a slightly difficult position. I'm reasonably confident that this is a matter that should be resolved over the next few weeks to months. But it's very likely event that is resolved, hopefully this end of the year. I don't see why, and particularly if it's resolved in my favor, as it should rightly be. I will very quickly go on to the process of reorganizing the party, reuniting it, re-messaging to the country, and preparing for the next round. The next round, of course, is about elections coming in. But for the party, very urgently, it's about really returning us to the people of this country. I'm absolutely confident that we'll do it much easier because, as my brother Alan is talking about, some of the key things that he's talking about, the major things based on our track record, and consider that our opponent who sold our name has now had 40 years of really nothing to show. You know, it's an easier job for us than anything else, of course, but the biggest thing for us is at the moment to make sure that we have a clear leadership. But just very quickly, I really hope that while we are doing that, we will be focusing on issues as UPC, and so will be all our other colleagues. And just as it is also, that really today, Mr. Museveni ought to be giving us the leadership of a possibility of the signals that he's had a little bit of his time. Give opportunity maybe for NRA to have somebody relatively fresh, you know, to represent their interests, so that political parties like mine, like my brother Alan's and others, can actually together, Alex, you know, present an alternative views for the peoples of this country, so that we're able to push an agenda that our founding independence parents did. And that's why when Mr. Museveni wrote his letter on Bukedea, he was rather cheeky to refer to 1980 elections, because the 1980 elections, you know, he was the deputy to Mr. Mwanga, and he decides to put some funny blame on Mr. Mwanga, something that he's not been able to provide evidence for in 40 years. But why I'm saying that is that we need urgently, beyond the relevance of UPC preparing, but dealing with the ground issues, some of which is being raised here, that polity is seen over the next 2 years. That's not about violence, but it's about issues. And that political parties prepare their leaders and have opportunity and access to go across the country and to access every Ugandan, and so that we have an element of competition of ideas rather than personality.
Thank you very much. I have exactly 3 minutes. We are going to use 35 seconds each. Rogers Mulindwa, wrap it up, and then Alex Waiswa from Bureau, you will do that too.
To the people of Oyam, we want to thank you for the support you have given NRM, and please cast your vote wisely. Our candidate will be voting at 10 a.m. at Awangi polling station in Orupa Parish, that is the Cheme sub-county. Hope the others also wake up. You are watching NTV, I'm sure. Please go and vote, cast your vote. The other exchanges will come later.
Okay.
But the victory is in our side.
Alex Waiswa from Mufimbiro.
To the people of Oyam, this is your Liberation Day. We know that already the state machinery of the NRA is at its best, but you do your best also to keep the hope alive. And I can only tell the country that at a certain point, we as a country will maneuver and win all these semantics of the National Resistance Army, God being our helper. The name Tibuharwa was brought as a result of an election, and it is important people to know. But lastly, NUP tickets were never for sale. In fact, those who won did not have, some of them, capacity to even buy a ticket. Our card is at 1,000 shillings. So do not lie when you are here.
Now we are moving from
Rogers Mulindwa and Waiswa Mufimbiro, let's maintain.
No, I was just informing him that Tibuharwa maintains the
I'll give Joseph Ochieno to also urge his supporters to go out and vote.
No, Uganda People's Congress members, this is your seat. This is a traditional UPC stronghold, traditional seat. You've got the best candidate of the entire lot, the candidate who nearly won last time, and the candidate who should really be able to push this thing and over the next 2 years give you the opportunity and the taste of what UPC does. Show you what we did in the past, show you what we can do today, and show you what we should be doing in the future post-NRA.
It's unfortunate we were unable to have an FDC representative here, but he would have also had the opportunity to urge supporters of the Forum for Democratic Change to go out and vote. Just a reminder that the polling is underway in Oyam North. as residents there, 90,000 people elect a new member of parliament. Those that are vying for the seat are NRM's Engola Okello Samuel, who is facing a stiff challenge from Okello Daniel of the National Unity Platform, Okello Freddie Newton of the Forum for Democratic Change, as well as Apio O Eunice of the Uganda People's Congress. Many thanks for being part of this debate this morning. It's always a pleasure having your company. On behalf of my colleague Priscilla, Regina Naloga, and indeed the team behind the scenes that ensure that some of the emotions here are under control, are doing a pretty good job. Many thanks. Have yourselves a good day. I'll see you tomorrow, Friday.